Prologue. I am lost forever. I shall never again see the fertile lands of home. I will not behold the sun as it rises over the huts of my village and illuminates the plains of my homeland at the start of each new day. Gone forever is the warmth of its rays on my face as I lie in the grass. The vision of the azure blue skies kissing the tops of trees and the swift flight of the gazelle and lion sprinting across the open fields are gone from me forevermore. I do not rest beneath the glimmering sun or starry sky of the motherland. I lay shackled in the bowels of a slave ship, immersed in my own waste and that of those around me. Decay assaults my senses. The stench is an amalgamation of vomit, rotting flesh, and human misery. If there is a hell, then this is the core of its origin. How did I come to be in this cruel place, victimized by men who bow to a god of greed? I was stolen in the dark of night like a treasure, then tossed to the dogs in the morning like a worthless bone. Warring tribes, hostile neighbors, loathsome men, black and white, guilty of unforgivable sins. Bought and sold with no contemplation of my true worth, for what price is there to be placed on an immortal soul? To my captors, I was an adversary. To the slave traders, I am a commodity. Despair dwells deep, for I know when this ship arrives at its destination, I will be auctioned off to the highest bidder. I will be abused and made to face indignities no man or woman should suffer. I will be dishonored and used until I no longer serve their purposes. When they are done, I will be discarded like feckless refuse, buried in an unmarked grave. But I won't succumb and become the animal they perceive me to be. My spirit will rise and rebel. I will not permit them to declare me unworthy of humanity because of the color of my skin. I shall not allow them to judge me as insignificant. I am more than human substance. I have a spirit they cannot touch. I have worth. I matter to the people of my village, to my family, to the one I was to marry. I have value to the Creator even if it seems he or she has abandoned me. And I will matter to my descendants, those who will one day search for my name and give witness to my existence. Those around me beg to die. I beg to live. I ask to pass on my essence. I plead to the almighty power to let my spirit rise above and move through earthly dimensions to see beyond these shameful times to a better day. I will not lose myself in this netherworld. I will not surrender my soul. I will endure. Going home. Fox stepped out into the steamy night. The rain showers that passed through earlier had done little to cool things off. Rocking back on his heels and rubbing his neck, he looked skyward, resigned to the fact that tomorrow they would have to deal with Alden. But for tonight, the girls were safe. Isaac and Bessie were on their way to a new life, and lo and behold, he had registered to vote. Walked right up to that woman and registered. Free men register, he thought. Free men vote, and by God, I am a free man. The corners of his mouth turned up with satisfaction. He watched the fireflies winking through the woods, and his thoughts drifted to the unknown ancestors, his and all the other restless spirits who defied time and space to beckon their descendants through the ages and plead to be found. He knew they would not rest until that day. These children, these travelers, were not Fox's first visitors. They would not be his last. His visitors were not often from his family, but that didn't matter. All the unknowns shared a common desire to reclaim their identity. They all deserved justice and dignity, and he would do his part. Through some ordinance of God, they sent their descendants on a pilgrimage through time to restore their stolen past. They sent them to anyone who could help close the circle and make them whole. But this time had been extraordinary. He had been allowed to see his legacy in these children, and what a legacy it was. He was mystified at having 3 come at once this time, especially 2 as young as Emma and Josh. That had never happened before, and none had ever stayed a full day, just a few moments in time, an hour at most. What did this mean? Lordy, he mumbled aloud. Trying to figure out who's who over 200 years just don't seem possible, but neither does moving through time. Fox didn't hear Annie come outside. She slipped behind him and touched his arm. He turned and smiled. "Thank you for saving Emma. I'm sorry about Mary Jane. I don't think she would have gone berry picking if she hadn't had Emma for company. Emma didn't know it wasn't safe." "Don't go playing what-ifs," he chided mildly. "What if they hadn't gone? What if they had went this way and not that way? When people do bad things, we can't pardon them even a little bit by thinking we the ones who did something wrong. Emma and Mary Jane had every right to go berry picking without fear of being taken, just like the unknowns had a right to be doing whatever they was doing in their country without fear of being stolen and sold. God gives us those rights, Annie, and when a man or woman takes them away, the fault lies with the people doing the taking. I believe that with all my heart. I think that's why one of our unknown ancestors picked me to be a part of all this, and they picked you too. You got to believe in what's right and speak up. I know that's hard, and sometimes I don't know if I'm always up to it. I don't know if anyone is up to it. I suspect some who've traveled like you have gone back to their times and rejected the call. I hope you don't do that. No matter what happens, we have to keep trying. You are one special young lady, and I think there are great things ahead for you. I think that drawing you do is going to make you famous one day." Annie smiled as she thought about Fox's words. "In my time, they have something called DNA testing. They use your blood or spit to tell where your ancestors came from. My Aunt Lizzie, Josh's mom, did the test, and it turns out our ancestors, yours and mine, came from Cameroon in West Africa. They were from the Bamileke tribe. I did a Black History Month school report on the Bamileke clans because so many enslaved people came from Cameroon. The Bamileke people trace their origins to Egypt, and some believe they are descendants of kings and queens. They were strong and virile and highly sought after during the slave trade. There were many clans among the Bamileke, most of them with their kings and chiefs, and they were often at war with one another. Some of their leaders may have sold them to slave traders as punishment for crimes or because of rivalries among the clans. White and black men stole some of them. Others were tricked into going on the slave ships." Fox's forehead furrowed. "What in Kingdom Come is Black History Month?" Annie laughed at the expression on Fox's face. She laughed with an abandon she hadn't felt in a long time. With laughter came the release of the tension of the day. Despite all the trauma, she was happy, happier than she had been in a while. "This is the most fantastic thing ever," she thought. "I'm a traveler. The unknown picked me." Thinking about that, she mustered the courage to speak openly. As Fox had said, believe in what's right and speak up. "I believe the unknowns want to use the travelers to send messages backward as well as forward in time, and I would like for you to think about something. Your Anne should go to school. She should learn to read and write just like Bessie did. It's not too late, and girls need an education as much as boys do. They need to be able to do more than cook and take care of babies. And boys can help with that stuff too. Reading makes everything possible. All the children should go to school. Education is power, just like registering and voting is power, and knowing where you came from is power." Fox looked at her for a moment before responding. "I'll see to it." He put his arm around her and walked her inside.